Hello, welcome to Miss IJ's Kids Inclusive Podcast. My name is Ibiyemi Popoola, and you can call me IJ. I will be your host. On this podcast, we'll be talking about the stigma individuals with special needs face on a day-to-day basis on the continent of Africa. We'll be bringing to you professionals in the disability field, sharing resources and information that can benefit any educator, parent, caregiver, and community with persons with disabilities. Join me on this journey in spreading hope and resilience as we advocate for inclusive education on the beautiful continent of Africa. Hello, it's Miss IJ's Kids Inclusive Podcast, and we're here for Season 2, Episode 1 of our Inclusive Podcast. And I have today Miss Ibiyemi Ayeni, and she works with Special Olympics Nigeria. It's been a pleasure working with them in the past, but today we get to find out more about what they do, who they are. So Miss Ibiyemi, thank you for coming to the show. Could you please tell the viewers and the listeners just who you are and the dynamic things that you do with Special Olympics Nigeria?
Hello, Miss IJ. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. So my name is Ibiyemi Ayeni, and I work with Special Olympics Nigeria. So who is Special Olympics Nigeria? Who are we? Yes. Special Olympics Nigeria, we champion the inclusion of people with intellectual disabilities. What is an intellectual disability? Is somebody that has a slower rate of learning or socially adapting to the community or to their societies. That can be somebody with Down syndrome or somebody with autism. Those are examples of an intellectual disability. So what we do at Special Olympics is that we are championing the inclusion of people with intellectual disability in society through the power of sports. We provide opportunities for them to participate in sporting opportunities. And then we also provide health screening opportunities. If you want to play sports, you have to be healthy. So provide health screening opportunities for them. And then even after sports, we look beyond sports and think about ways in which they can build their capacity so that they can be a lot more independent. And that's basically Special Olympics in a nutshell.
Oh, I love it. I love when you indicate that it is intellectual disability. So Special Olympics started in 2001. And a little background with my connection with Special Olympics is that I was working with the kids who were in Special Olympics at the school that I taught back in Oklahoma. And when I found out that they had this in Nigeria, I was really excited about it. And I had the pleasure of being on one of your events that you called Go Inclusive, I think. And we talked a little bit about it. So I want people to know that Special Olympics is affiliated with the Special Olympics Umbrella International, right?
Yes. Okay. So Special Olympics Nigeria.
Yes.
Started in 2001. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And then we are affiliated with Special Olympics.
Okay. Awesome. But your footprint in Nigeria is that you've worked with over 26,000 individuals with intellectual disabilities across 28 states in Nigeria. So you're not just, local to, Ikoyi in Lagos, but you actually reach out throughout the country to work with people with disabilities. Why do you think that this is so important in Nigeria, especially with people who have disabilities? Why is this organization an important aspect of just our culture?
Right. So, there is a fight for vulnerable groups where there's a push now, even in the SDGs, for inclusion.
Nice.
We're trying to not let people be left behind, right?
Absolutely.
So there's a fight for people who are poorer or people who are, physically disabled. So for people with intellectual disabilities, there is a gap. And because not a lot of organizations are out there. Right now, Special Olympics is one of the world's largest humanitarian organizations championing the inclusion of people with intellectual disabilities. And Special Olympics Nigeria is fulfilling or adding to that fight because Special Olympics is international, is global, and we're trying to push and make sure that we're also fighting for those with intellectual disabilities living in Nigeria so that they are not left behind. And I don't think there are a lot of organizations that house all intellectual disabilities within Nigeria. So you can have like the Down Syndrome Foundation, just for people with Down syndrome, but for all intellectual disabilities, Special Olympics is fighting for everyone. And that's why we're important, especially in that Nigeria space, to make sure that no one with an intellectual disability is left behind.
That's amazing. I love sports, and I like the fact that you are pushing this message of inclusivity through sports. Are there any things or any messages that Special Olympics Nigeria, how do you spread the awareness of the challenges that people with disability face using sports as your tool?
Okay, so sports. Okay, so you said you love sports. So
I love sports. I love basketball, soccer. I like competition. I'm competitive.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. But it has a way of breaking down barriers. Nice. Like when you're in the game, you just want to have a good time. You're more relaxed. You want to, even if it's a competition, right? After everything, everybody's happy. Everybody is celebrating together. That's the sportsmanship spirit, right? So, what the original founder of Special Olympics was trying to do is, yes, anyone can do anything. So in Kennedy Chavez thought, yes, sports would be the perfect way to showcase the abilities of people with intellectual disabilities, and also get people without intellectual disabilities to, one, see the abilities of people with intellectual disabilities, and two, be more open, because they feel free, they feel happy, be more open to interacting and liaising and seeing and building friendship, and just yes, tolerating and accepting others. Yeah. And that's why sports really has been important with spreading our goal of inclusion.
Yeah, that is so important, because there are a lot of students, as a teacher, we were in situations where there were students who could not play certain sports. And I understand. I mean, you can't have someone who, maybe has a big challenge with cerebral palsy or Down syndrome. I understand they may not be able to play, in the NBA or in that degree and capacity, because sportsmanship it involves a lot. However, there are still, students with disabilities, whether it's learning disabilities, who can still be a part of sports and shouldn't be excluded just because they're having a challenging time with their grades, or they're having a challenging time, with anything. I think that there are a lot right now, in the States anyway, I can say that there are a lot of athletes who have, dyslexia, and athletes who have learned disabilities, who have proven to be champions in their sport and their field, and we're not excluded from that. So I think that Special Olympics Nigeria, in your way, has a way of meeting those SDG goals, for education at least. So this is what I want to ask you, through the identification of inclusion program, which when I saw the post online, I was over the moon, because data is important, right? How do you know people have disabilities? How do we, understand the magnitude of what their needs are? So Special Olympics Nigeria partnered with a couple of other organizations, I think, in Nigeria, to really push the identification for inclusion program. Could you please tell us more about that?
Okay, so the identification for inclusion, ID4I, was the solution that we came up with because of what we experienced with Special Olympics Nigeria. We figured that a lot of our athletes, that's what we call a person with intellectual disability. We call them athletes.
They are athletes, exactly. Yeah. I love that.
Right. A lot of our athletes don't have identification. So especially when we want to go for international games, sometimes we have to help them get everything from scratch. To get a passport, you need, back then, you need like a birth certificate. You have to run around and assist with getting their birth certificate, right, then helping them with their passport. And now it's mandatory for us to have a national identification number. Yeah. Right. And they've made it mandatory for you to be able to get a lot of services, e.g., getting a passport, getting access to education, getting access to healthcare, even banking services now for your phone. To get a SIM card registered, you need a national identification number. And then we're like, some of our athletes don't even have, their birth certificate. So it is very important for us, so that they're not really, that's also a different way of segregation. If they're not aware of that, of what they need to get to even access all these opportunities, then they're automatically excluded. And so we came up with the opportunity and we entered it into the Mission Billion Challenge, which is powered by the World Bank. And we got their support, we got the award, and we got some funding to kickstart this solution. And that was how the ID4I came about. So we're championing inclusion by facilitating registration of a national identification number for people living with intellectual disabilities in Nigeria. And that's the ID4I solution in a nutshell.
And how does that meet the SDG goals? I know that SDG goals 4.5 and 4A have really zero in on individuals with disabilities, but how does this aspect really meet the goals of, and you probably answered the question, I probably just want you to say it again because it's so important. How does it meet those goals in coming up with this initiative?
So there are a lot of different goals, right? Poverty, health, and all of that. But I think the underlying theme through all of that is inclusion. So promoting inclusion, and that's why it's important for us to be able to push identification. We need to know who is out there so that we can make sure that we're including them in all the services. And that's how we're meeting the world. That's the SDG global goals. Is that we're trying to make sure that people with intellectual disabilities have access to services. If they have access to services, then we're already decreasing poverty in one aspect. We're also increasing their access to health. We're also talking about partnership, and there are so many goals, and I think that just this basic is trying to get them one step towards making sure that we're achieving the SDG.
That's amazing. For our listeners in, like, for instance, the States, when we talk about the national identification number, think of it as a social security number. That's what they use. And to do anything, to go to the doctor, to open up an account, to get a job, you need those numbers. So if people don't have the help and the assistance, how would they get a job? How would they, get medical care? So what Special Olympics Nigeria is doing just with this is one step into making sure that people with disabilities in Nigeria, vulnerable groups, are not left behind, and really get that support that they need. Because really, you said something I really loved in the beginning, is that just because you have a disability doesn't mean you don't have the ability. You just need, help or support. And I think that with organizations like Special Olympics Nigeria, where people with disabilities worldwide, it's challenging. But I think when you're really talking about, poverty and not having those resources, it takes the challenge to a whole new level. So if not for organizations like Special Olympics Nigeria, I mean, we probably wouldn't even know that people with disabilities exist. And that really is not an exaggeration, if you can add to my points.
That's correct. Especially intellectual disabilities, you can go on the street and ask, out of 10 people, actually 10 is even a small number, maybe out of 100, maybe 1 or 2 might be aware or might know somebody that knows someone, or that has an intellectual disability. People are really not that enlightened about intellectual disabilities, and then because of that lack of knowledge, there's also there's a stigma there too. So but we can proceed.
Oh, amazing. So the vision of Special Olympics Nigeria is to inspire openness, acceptance, inclusion through the joy of sports. What has been the strategy of Special Olympics Nigeria in implementing your vision? So you implement the vision of the umbrella organization of Special Olympics, but then you also have to cater it to Nigerians, our culture, who we are, how we take, the economic levels. You have to really tailor it to Nigeria. So how do you implement that vision as Special Olympics Nigeria to the citizens of Nigeria?
Well,
big question.
It's a very, I'm trying to figure out which way to go to answer it. So
you can simplify it.
Okay, so I spoke about what we do in a nutshell, which would be the sports, health, and capacity building.
Yes.
I think the capacity building, we made it that term just because of the Nigerian environment. A lot of our athletes, will I say, unfortunately, come from lower income, household.
Yes.
So outside the game, we are thinking how else we can support, or how else they can support themselves. So our sports opportunities is to show, like the international body, is to showcase their abilities. Anybody can do anything. You just need to give them the opportunity to learn, be patient, build that skill, and they will learn it. And that's where the sporting opportunity comes into place. And that, to promote their abilities, we're trying to show people that, look, people with intellectual disabilities can do too. They have abilities. Stop focusing on this part. The abilities are there. And then through the health, making sure that they are not left behind. A lot of our athletes, maybe also because their parents are not aware, and it could also be because of funding. Dental care. Maybe 1 in 10 might get it every 5, maybe, if they're lucky. Vision care. Some of our athletes are walking around with really poor eyesight. Nobody has some of the families don't have the resources to actually go and get that taken care of. So through the Special Olympics International body, Special Olympics Nigeria is also able to work with local professionals to provide, health screening, and that covers, certain aspects which I can highlight later. Yes. And then, and that also enables them to participate in the sport. It also enables them to be able to even have a better quality of life, to be able to, go out there and even want to learn a new skill. And, and that's where the capacity building comes into play. So after they've gone to the games, how do they make money? How do they sustain themselves? So we try to see what skill they can learn. If it's a vocation, if it's, just, computer basic skills, if they're able to, things like that. That's what the capacity building training. And we're also looking forward to the point where, some of our athletes who are higher functioning can also be part of our Special Olympics management, whereby they can also help come up with strategies in which we can reach out to other athletes. And so that's where we're going. And that's really what we're trying to do in Nigeria in a nutshell.
That's you could not have said it better. I mean, you need a whole round of applause for what you said in terms of capacity, health, and sports. Something else you said that I thought was very important is funding. So we know that sponsors are the bedrock of making inclusive sports possible for people with disabilities in Nigeria. Why is it important to incorporate Nigeria and all the stakeholders who, just help to push this vision in making the dreams of the athletes? Like you said, we refer to them as athletes because we don't want to label people in that sense. And I love that. But how do they make, the dreams of these athletes come true? Like, why is sponsorship so important in the framework of what you do?
So I'll start with, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of our families come from lower income. A lot of our athletes come from lower income households or families. And we offer these services completely free to them. In order for us, and in this life, in the world, nothing is completely free.
Yeah.
Somebody the cost is going or going somewhere, or it's being enabled or swallowed by somebody, right? And that's where our sponsors and partners come in. We are open to partners and sponsors that vision align with ours of inclusion, of trying to empower, anybody really, individuals, organizations, government, that want to promote and promote inclusion. We're open to partnership with them, and they are very important to what we do. Special Olympics International has helped with Special Olympics Nigeria programming. We also have some partners locally. We also have grant funding from partners internationally, and that has been very helpful to us in achieving some of the programs we've been able to do over the years. And we are forever grateful to them, and we're looking forward to more so we can achieve more. And we know that this year and the future years will have wonderful things, wonderful partners come to us.
That's amazing. I mean, can we sound the alarm? Like you said, it is free at no cost to participate in sports. The reason, Special Olympics International, like stateside, when I taught in my class, like I said, some of my students couldn't compete in the competitive sports in school, like, football and things like that. So they would have Special Olympics work with the students, and we would train. So, my kids would come into the class, and, once a week we'll plan out what we're going to do. It was a club, it was a unified sports club, and they would come and we'll plan it out. I'll make it fun and we'll do games or whatever, but we'll also practice certain sports like, bocce, and there was horseback riding, there was swimming, all these things that they could participate in. And I remember the parents and the children were so excited, especially when they won. Like at the games, when they won, I mean, it was such a big deal. My heart, when I think about my kids and our event that day, like, it's absolutely amazing. But students and, athletes in Nigeria get to do this for free because of awesome sponsors that come and support this program because they believe in the program. And, could you talk about some of the sports that the athletes engage in the Special Olympics? Like what sports do they engage in back there in Nigeria?
Okay, so in Nigeria, we offer 10 Olympic type sports.
Nice.
I'm going to try to list them. So
if you remember, I know it's a lot.
Right, there's athletics.
Nice.
We basketball.
Yeah.
Badminton.
Nice.
Yes. And then we do cycling. Then soccer, volleyball, floorball, floor hockey, that's swimming.
Yes, I think you said swimming.
Yes, swimming, and then bocce.
Nice.
That's 10.
That's amazing.
So all those sports we do offer, and it's important for the variety because abilities vary. Even as I am, I'm not that good with swimming, but I can probably cycle, or I might have more of an affinity towards cycling. So there are some of our athletes are not able to probably run so much or engage in physically straining things, maybe because of preference or just because of abilities. And so they go for lower impact sports. Like some of our athletes do the athletics, so they can throw the shot put, or yes, or they can do the cycling, or they can go into swimming, or they can be part of the team sports, which we play unified with people without intellectual disabilities, basketball, soccer, and volleyball. Nice. So if the options are good for them to be able to choose which they're interested in and able to do well. Okay. And it's a chance for them to showcase their abilities and make sure that, people are seeing them and what they are able to do. Okay. So that's why.
Amazing. So stateside, we had coaches, we had, people who help with the training, and we also had volunteers. Is this also the case for Special Olympics Nigeria? And if it is, how do you go about training the athletes? How do you go about with coaching? And how do you go about even recruiting volunteers for this program?
Okay. So I'll start with the volunteers. Mm-hmm. So online on our website, which is www.specialolympicsnig.org,
okay.
Right?
And I'll put it in the comments for people.
Right. Mm-hmm. Thank you. So we do have a call-in for volunteers, and then our volunteer call log. You can specify what you're interested in, and some of them can specify sports. So with that, we typically call them in when we're having sports training. What we also do is we partner a lot with schools, because some schools have facilities, right? Because Special Olympics Nigeria doesn't really have its own sporting facilities, so we partner with schools, and we thought it would be more impactful to even have teacher coaches. So we also recruit coaches from schools who are teachers, especially like PE teachers, to call them in, and also the volunteers from the website and any other person who is interested within the communities. We do coaches training. And when a coach is trained, they're able to go out and provide training in that sport that they're trained in for athletes. Mm-hmm. And that's how we're able to provide the sports training to athletes for them to participate in. So that's what we do regarding that. And then when it comes for people who are more interested in health opportunities, so if there's a health professional who is interested in giving back and they register and they specify what they're interested in, when we're having health screening, we call them in, first of all, do a training, give them more of like an information session as to, okay, people with intellectual disabilities, you need to be a little more patient, they might not really understand how. So that kind of info session with them before we organize the health screening opportunities. We also have existing clinical directors. So existing professionals that are our directors when it comes to the health aspect. And they are also exposed to students who are also interested in giving back, and from there. So those are how we get volunteers to come in and assist with all aspects of our programming, even for the capacity building. Mm-hmm. If it's not our staff providing the training, there are some organizations that we reach out to or that reach out to us, mm-hmm. and say, oh, we do have staff who are skilled in IT or who are skilled in this, and they want to be able to come in and provide training. And we take advantage of those opportunities as well.
Oh, that's amazing. We talked a little bit about the stigma, and I just wanted you to close to the end of the interview, or we are close to the end of the interview, but I wanted you to talk a little bit about the stigma and how Special Olympics Nigeria helps to eradicate some of that, or reduce it by spreading awareness of inclusion. I know each culture, each country has a different, thing in terms of what they're dealing with and making sure that inclusion is possible everywhere when it comes to individuals with disabilities. How does Special Olympics Nigeria help to reduce the stigma for Nigerians who have intellectual disabilities or any kind of disability within the country?
Stigma is one thing it's like it's it's a continuing thing we have to deal with. Especially culturally, when something is different here, we somehow relate it to spiritual or somehow related to something that is easily contractable. So,
or it's the person's fault or something.
Exactly. Yes. So there's always something or one reason why somebody believes that, oh no, they should be kept separate. Yeah. So, I think it's just that's the beauty of our unified programming. Mm-hmm. And we try as much as possible, especially younger people who are more open to new things. We go into the
clap for the younger people who are really pushing change on every sphere you can think of.
Exactly.
Worldwide. Yes.
So we go into the young, the youth, even the youth in offices. Mm-hmm. We also go approach, people who are already more mature in corporations. So we have various programming in which we try to introduce athletes to these groups that I've mentioned: the young, the youth, young professionals, and also more mature professionals, whereby we're promoting unified. So if I bring an athlete and I bring somebody without an intellectual disability together, like you mentioned you mentioned once unified sports. Mm-hmm. Yes. So when we do that, then that's a unified opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so we provide a lot of unified opportunities to different groups. Mm-hmm. So that the more you're exposed to something, the less you're unaware about it and the less ignorance you have about it, right? Yes. And the more open I think you are to it. And that's how stigma is reduced. And I think that's how we've been, trying as much as possible to break down barriers through unified programming and the joy and power of sports, really.
Yes, the joy and power of sports. What is your powerful word of encouragement for those who work and interact with individuals with disabilities in Nigeria? What can you say to them?
Well, number one, well done. Number two, basically treat equally, treat fairly, be tolerant, be open, include, and don't exclude anybody. And that way, when you include, you're exposing them to opportunities. And when you're exposing them to opportunities, they are less dependent, and so, so that's all I can say.
Very well said. And how do people in Nigeria, if a family knows that if they know they've accepted and they're trying to get support for their family, or if it's a caregiver, how do they know about Special Olympics Nigeria? If it's something that they want to do, how do you get that word out, and how can they reach you listening, or even supporters around the world? Like how?
Okay, so we try as much as possible to promote ourselves on social media, and also through print media. Every time we have a program, we try to do a press release, announce that who we are and how we're a free organization and what we do. So we try to promote ourselves as much as possible. Even when we go into communities, we do a lot of community-based programming. Like I said, a lot of our families come from lower income neighborhoods. So sometimes even when we're doing our social media or our print, sometimes we're not reaching everybody. So through community programming, we reach out to community leaders. We tell them about Special Olympics. They spread word, and that's how we reach out to people who are in need of our programming. And for those who want to reach out to us, we're on Instagram, we have a website,
Twitter, you have a website,
on Facebook. Yes, I can send you the link so that you can probably put it out somewhere. But yes, so that we can post it and you can reach out to us anytime.
Thank you so much. Well, that's how I found you, was on Instagram. So there's some power in social media, but also you said print media, because not everybody has access to the internet. So I like that you're doing that as well. It's very important. It has
been in Nigeria. I don't think we've achieved. I don't know the percentage, but I don't think we've achieved a lot.
Yes.
Maybe we've not even reached half. A lot of less than half, I think, are not online. Are not doing that. Yeah.
That's a very good point, because people in other parts of the world might take for granted that the internet. Even before our interview, we can say that we had some technical issues, but we pulled through with what we have, because to me, I believe the message is more important than some of the the other things that are happening in the background, behind the scenes. People need to know that there is a place that they can go to if their child really is interested in sports, if parents see that their children have the ability to do something and to compete, because there are lessons in competition, there are lessons in sport,
right.
And no child should be turned away from being in a sport because they have a disability, whether it's learning, whether it's intellectual. But for Special Olympics, you're really honing in on intellectual disabilities. And I appreciate that about your organization. I love what the founder did for just creating the organization. When I read a little bit about the history, I thought it was amazing. And I'm glad that we have this branch of Special Olympics in, the country of my birth, which I love so dearly. And where young people like you and all over Nigeria are really just doing such a great effort in making sure that people are heard, people are seen, especially vulnerable people. I just want to say thank you again so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you guys are busy. You're always working to meet with me. I'm very grateful that everything worked out with the internet. And I'm very grateful. And everything you said was clear and we heard it. And for those who are going to listen, I'm sure that they will tag somebody and talk to somebody. And the just your footprint in Nigeria and in Africa with the organization will continue to grow. So on a sidebar, I always like to ask people some other questions that are not affiliated to anything that we're doing because I like food. But I was going to ask you, because some people have not been to Nigeria. Some people see, parts of Africa as something else than but thank God for social media. We're thankful for that. So if someone wanted to come to Nigeria, they wanted to, come, visit you guys at Special Olympics Nigeria, and they also want to see the sights and the sounds and the beautiful places in Nigeria, where would you recommend that they go? And maybe what food would you recommend that they eat?
Okay. All right. So I'm going to talk on places I've been or that I would like to go to that I've researched, right? Okay. So I'm based in Lagos, Nigeria. In Lagos, you can probably go to Badagry and visit some of the slave sites over there.
Nice.
You can also go to the beaches. We have a lot of lovely resorts in Lagos. We have the Landmark Beach and Resort. We have Lakapan Tropicana. So those are some of and then Takwa Bay, some of the beaches and resorts that you can go to. When it comes to others, Oyo State in Ibadan, you can go to IITA. It's an International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. I've heard that it's so serene. And also it's a place where they have forestry. They're doing research on agriculture. They also have a basketball court. They have a lot of things and nice accommodation. If you want to just go there and relax, and that's a good place. Akwa Ibom, Cross River State is also coming up big with tourism. There are lots of nice places I want to go and check out. There's
You're a resourceful person. I need to keep your number in my phone. Okay, so Akwa Ibom, yes.
Yes, so I think it's Cross River.
Cross River
State, yes. There's a Tinapa Falls, there's Obudu Cattle Ranch. Nice. And then I've been to the warm springs in Ikogosi. That's in Ekiti State. Yes. So you can, there's so many places that if you go to Abuja people will tell you to go to, I think it's Zuma Rock, and then also some of the museums and nice, artistry things there. Nice. Also in Lagos, I think Nike Art Gallery is also a good if you're an artist. When it comes to food.
Yes.
Oh gosh. Our jollof rice is the bomb. So we can specify and say you want firewood jollof rice. And that's one of the best things that you could try. Okay. Our suya is also very good.
Okay. So suya is rice and suya.
Yeah, suya is like grilled meat. They put it on like kebab sticks and it's actually really good. And then our swallows, any of them with any of our soup. Our soup option.
Pounded yam and amala and the soups. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
For the major soups, amala is like plantain flour, I believe. Yeah. So you can do the amala and beguri. Yes. And ewedu. Yes. Stew. Yes. that combination, you try that one together. And then when you want to do another combination that's actually really powerful, to me at least, is pounded yam and eforiro.
Nice.
And then with any of those combinations, you can choose your choice of protein.
Oh my goodness.
Beef, chicken, fish.
You need to be a tour guide, okay? You need a side hustle as a tour guide because you've made me just want to get on the next plane, if not for all this Omicron. But very resourceful, and I can see why that you are the initiatives manager because very smart. Honestly, I've enjoyed the interview. Smart, young adult who has such a bright future ahead of her. So I'm really thankful that you took the time out of your schedule to talk to us. And I hope this will be the beginning of, a great partnership. We at the Miss IJ's Kids Inclusive podcast, we started an inclusive foundation where we can really partner with organizations that are working with individuals with disabilities. So we definitely would love to do more things with you all in the future. Thank you so much again, Ibiyemi. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. And we look forward to working more together.
Yes,
because last year was just the beginning. We have more things.
Yes, absolutely. 2022 is going to be a great year. And, we're just all going to put our visions out there. We're going to hope for the best. And we're going to believe for, collaborators and people who share the same vision on the same page to really make a difference for people with disabilities in Nigeria. That's what I really truly believe.
I was about to take this to church and say amen, but
we can go there. We can go there. But thank you so much. Thank you. And
Thanks for listening to Miss IJ's Kids Inclusive Podcast this week. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so on our website at www.ijpopoola.com. Or if you want to write to us about topics you would love to hear covered on the show, the email address is popoloijelma@gmail.com, one word. And if you'd like to follow us on our social media pages, it's at Miss IJ's Kids. I am IJ Popoola, and you've listened to Miss IJ's Kids Inclusive Podcast.